Hey there, fellow founders. Are you looking to unlock the secrets behind rapid business growth? Join my vibrant meetup group where we dive into masterclasses on game-changing strategies every single month. We've tackled topics like building a lean marketing engine, crafting killer lead magnets, and leveraging gateway offers to sell high-ticket offers. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next one. Come share your experiences, learn from the best, and let's grow together. Sign up and be part of the next masterclass by going to events.sarahnoelblock.com. That's events.sarahnoelblock.com. Welcome to Tiny Marketing. This is Sarah Noel Block, and this is the podcast that helps B2B service businesses do more with less. Learn lean, actionable, organic marketing strategies you can implement today. No fluff, just powerful growth tactics that work. Ready to scale smarter? Hit that subscribe button and start growing your business with Tiny Marketing. Hello, you beautiful, beautiful things. This is take 6. That's how awkward I am today. Hi, I'm Sarah Noel Block, and this is Tiny Marketing. You're listening to episode 111 with Brie Leever, and we're talking about a topic that is so freaking hot right now. It is communities. She is a community strategist, and she helps people decide what kind of community they should have, how to launch it, and how to monetize it. She's freaking amazing. She's the one who helped me choose the platform that I did for the Tiny Marketing Club. She's brilliant. I stalked her. Now we're friends. So today she's going to tell you about the 3 different types of communities that are available for you and when and why you should choose each one of those. So stay tuned. I'm keeping this short since I'm on take 7 and I don't trust myself. Hey, Brie, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm a community strategist and the founder over at Ember Consulting. We help creators, coaches, and consultants create their online community. And I also live on Hawaii Island, where I'm a community strategist by day and campervan host by night. And you'll usually find me in the water, but I'm really excited to talk about all things community today.
I mean, I knew all of that, and I'm so jealous of your life. That sounds so fun. Before we go into community, tell me, what is a camper van host? What do you do with that?
Yeah. So it's like, I'm like an Airbnb host, but for 4 cozy camper vans here on Big Island. So we rent them out to guests and they take them around the island. If you've ever been to Big Island, you know just how big it is.
Hence the name.
Hence the name. So there's a lot of drive time. So just kind of came up with the idea and then went all in on it. And now it's our little side hustle.
That's awesome. That sounds so fun.
Yeah. Never a dull moment for sure.
Yeah, I had an Airbnb and I can agree it's never dull. There's always like something happening.
Yeah, but not so passive income we all sign up for.
Yes, there's nothing passive about it. When I had guests, it was like there was a message every 2 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into community. Why should businesses start thinking about building community?
Yeah. So I could approach this from so many different angles. And I think what I'll start with is I don't think businesses should necessarily approach community only with monetary value in mind. So it's like one of the, sexiest things I could say is it's a very powerful recurring revenue model for your business, especially the membership model. And I think part of what makes community successful is approaching it from a vision for the impact that you can create for your customers and your members, as well as a really incredible return on investment. So part of what we're going to look at today is how community can support your business and the 4 different types of communities and how they support your business. And on the free side of communities, those communities are really have a history of supporting businesses in lots of different ways. There's lots of different types of communities that you can set up to get results on different business initiatives. But the model that I'm personally drawn to is paid communities, where the community itself is an offer, is an income stream for the business that has a very clear impact on the business, but it also creates some really incredible results for your members as well, depending on how you structure it. So we'll get into that.
Yeah. So first, let me start by saying community overwhelms me. Like, the idea of being the host of a community feels daunting. So how do you do that without it taking over your life?
Yeah, it is like, that is exactly it. And you can get in way over your head really quickly with community.
I believe you.
Just like speaking from firsthand experience. I love your community. I'm a part of it. So one of the really practical ways that I recommend not biting off more than you can chew is, when we look at these 4 types of communities, what you're quickly going to discover is that you'll think of examples of communities that actually hit multiple types, like really mature, complex communities that serve multiple customers on multiple different journeys. And really, the best way that I think you can really help keep your community boundaried early on is to commit to just one type and do that one type really well. I did not take my own advice.
Go on.
And I had to backtrack. I seriously had to backtrack, because I tried to do more than I could in the launch. I tried to do 2, and it was more than I could market and manage at any one point in time. So that's my first piece of advice, is to pick one type and really commit to that before you expand and make it more complex, your structure. The second piece of advice I have is, if it ever feels, and especially if you're getting started and you want to test a community concept, put a time frame around it. Time is such a lovely boundary. It gives us psychological safety. It gives our members psychological safety. So you can still call it a community, but say, this community, we will be together for the next 3 months or 4 weeks.
I love that.
It just takes the weight and the pressure off.
I feel safe already.
Right? Oh, we can all just breathe a sigh of relief. And it also gives you a chance to test. When you put an end date on something, you get time to reflect on what worked, make tweaks. There are some obstacles to that, in that if you want to leverage the magic of that group again, you kind of have to relaunch to them. If you're going to create an end date, then you have to create a new start date, or you have to have a new offer ready for them before they exit the community. So there's something to the momentum there too. But if it feels too heavy and you're just trying to get your feet wet, give it a time limit.
Okay, I want to get into that a little bit. So that makes me think of challenges or boot camps. It's more like cohort style, where you're going through a journey together and then whoosh, gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly this is what I call a transformative community. So they tend to be these cohort-based, these time-bound experiences. And I call them transformative because they're centered on an educational journey, a very clear, it's like the family road trip. We're all starting at point A. We're all going to go to point B together. And the paid learning experiences is where I put these transformative communities. So there's a very clear transformation that's happening to your members. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is the Brie Leever matrix of business and community.
We got so quickly into the types. I'm like, we should have this up for anyone who's watching on YouTube. A lot of people listen to this just audio, but if you want to listen, or if you want to watch and see this matrix, it's available on YouTube. The link will be in the show notes.
Well, you led me so naturally there, so we'll just dive right in. So for those of you who are listening, this matrix has a y-axis going up and down. Education is at the top. Connection is at the bottom. has an x-axis with free on the left, paid on the right. Super simple. Every community has a combination of education and connection. So the limit of this matrix is it makes it look like they're mutually exclusive, and they're not. That being said, what I mean by education is that learning journey. It's a communal learning journey with a very clear outcome. That's why we call the paid education-centric communities transformative communities. Down below, we have paid connection-centric communities. This is really where your membership and an ongoing membership exists. Usually that's like the structure that they will follow, because these communities tend to be more containers, and the value of what's being created there is coming from the connections between your members.
Mm-hmm.
You as the facilitator are make no mistake, you're still doing a lot of work because you're creating and these are the hardest to design for, honestly, because the outcome is like with the transformative community, usually like the community leader or a small group of experts are like guiding people through the content, and they're primarily engaging with the content, but you slowly turn them towards each other to get value from each other. The connection-centric paid communities, which I call networking communities, right off the bat, the value of what's happening there is the connection between your members. So you have to be really thoughtful about how you are architecting the space and prompting your members and creating a culture and like a structure that results in members exchanging value between each other. Sometimes this can happen really naturally. Other times it takes a lot of really intentional design. So you can still test either one of these communities with like a short-term experience. Like you can bring together, let's say, a peer-to-peer mastermind group for 3 months. I would still put that under networking community, because members, usually in a mastermind, members show up and like support each other, like do hot seats, or like one person takes on a new topic each week. Like the value is coming from the members themselves. There's not like one like all-seeing person guiding everyone through it.
Yeah.
So you can still create a time-bound test for networking community. It just looks a little bit different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so let's transition to the free side. So this is like the world that I come from, which is building big brand communities that support a business or a product in some way.
Nurturing one is what I see the most, I think.
Yeah, it's really common. So free education-centric communities, I call these nurturing communities. It's where this communal learning supports an end product or service. SaaS companies love nurturing communities because they tend to be selling a product that is a tool, and part of you getting value out of that tool is learning how to use it effectively. So some great examples of these types of communities, I would say the HubSpot community probably hits like probably all four of these in some way, shape, or form.
That's the first one that popped into my head too.
Oh, good. Yes. Yep, exactly. So they have tons of learning content, but it's all within this like communal learning environment where you can like see what's working for other people, learn from others, but you're also like, there's a pretty structured guidance and like learning journey that you're going on to learn how to use the tool effectively. The Etsy community is another great example. There's like an Etsy seller community, which again probably has elements of like all four of these woven in there, but it's a space where you can learn how to sell on Etsy more effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then finally, we move down into free connection-centric communities. And this is where most like 90% of Facebook groups lived for the last decade.
Okay. I'm glad you gave me that understanding, because I had reading the description, like, what would fall under this?
What? How does this work? Yes. So this is where the connection between your members supports the product or the service in some way. So it's free to join. It's like based on member interactions. There's like if you think of most Facebook groups, there wasn't like a guided intended journey. Some did, but it was like really clunky. Like
if they pulled that off, it's a miracle.
Yes. Yep. I actually have an example of one called Be the Bridge. It's this like really amazing community for people exploring diversity, equity, and inclusion. They did I like don't know how they navigated the Facebook group for so long, but I digress. So these communities are the most difficult to prove ROI. Anytime you're on the connection-centric side of the equation, it's so soft and fuzzy. Like the value of like the exchange between members, so difficult to calculate, so difficult to track. So you really, if you're going to start with a connection-centric community, especially if it's free, like really your upper level management and the person executing the community just has to pretty innately believe in like the value of community and trust that it is bringing in ROI, but it's really difficult to prove, to be honest. Like the tools are getting better, but they're not quite there yet. But these could also be some of the most powerful communities. Like there are a few Facebook groups that I'm aware of and a part of that like drive tremendous value for the brand. Even if we can't calculate it, a sale hits and you see like it's released only in the Facebook group and like their sales are through the roof, right? So it's like, okay, clearly something's happening here. Even if we can't tie it directly. But one of my favorite collaborative communities, so I call these collaborative communities.
Hey there, amazing founders. Ready to take your business to the next level? Join our Gateway Offer Challenge and watch your sales soar. In this challenge, you'll get mini Gateway Offer trainings to perfect your offers. Learn how to structure your documentation so it sells for you. Create buzz around your offer and identify eager clients with our sales training. Plus, get exclusive outreach templates that take the guesswork out of prospecting. And because selling should be fun, we've gamified this challenge. Who can sell the most gateway offers? And let's not forget, you'll also learn how to effortlessly upsell to your signature offer. Ready to level up? Join the Gateway Offer Challenge today. Your business will thank you. Go to challenge.sarahnoelblock.com. That is CHALLENGE.SARAHNOELBLOCK.com.
One of my favorite ones is Lego Ideas. So this is a community, like a community that comes out of their product department. So the like return on investment for the brand is that it's supporting product and product development. And in the community, members come up with like their super niche specialty CAD designs for the Lego sets that they want to see brought to life.
That's
so like
cool.
You're like all done up Taylor Swift Eras Tour Lego set is like proposed to the community. And usually there'll be like several different like members who are like elevated as designers who will like propose different sets. And the community votes on the set that they want to bring into production. And then they do. And it's like this whole fervor and they've essentially like outsourced a huge portion of their product development just to a community. And in the process, they're creating all of this like hype and fervor in their like branding for this new product release. So it's brilliant. It's super fun.
And people feel part of it. It's almost like how Kickstarter, if you're in this product early and you contributed, you feel like you're on the inside.
Absolutely. Yep, that's exactly it.
So my question about the connection, so for anybody listening, the ones that fall into the connection are networking communities and collaborative communities. How do you fill these when they're new? That's the scariest part of building a community is filling it so it's an actual community and not like a couple people.
I know. I actually asked the same question on my podcast to Mortaza, who's the founder of Heartbeat, which is a community platform. So maybe we can link to that episode too, because he had some great insights to share, but I'll summarize it. The best method for launching one of those communities is to get a pre-sale or excuse me, to set up pre-sale or waitlist, something where you can get people to opt in and secure payment early, but then give yourself like however much time you need for the initial runway to get at least, let's say like 12 members in and providing value for each other. And then you open the doors all at once. And usually, like, my favorite way to launch a community is with a like kickoff event where people like come into the event, and that's like at the event is when they get the login and like join information for joining the online community. So like everyone is like actually entering the community together online at the same time. And it just makes it feel really full and really vibrant.
That is smart. I like that a lot. So I'd love to just pause and noodle on that for a second, because I thought your podcast launch was the most brilliant thing I've ever seen. So can you walk me through how you launch? Like, I'm guessing that you probably mirrored a community launch for your podcast because you did such a good job with it. So can you walk me through your typical launch?
Oh, well, thank you so much for saying that. I will say I had a lot of help from my podcast producer. I got her like whole marketing plan. And so
nice.
I think honestly, though, it was like such a good reflection for me on what I do for my clients when we create a launch plan for them. And going through the experience myself for the podcast launch and feeling that resistance to launch and the tension, I was like, oh my gosh, I just like, I wouldn't have been able to do it without Rosa, my producer, and her team. So it makes me give me new energy for supporting my clients in that way. But yeah, the way that we approach a community launch, there's always like so many different levers that you can pull in marketing, and it's pretty dependent on like what their existing marketing engine looks like. So we tend to build communities for businesses that have at least been around for 2 to 3 years. So they have offers out. They're not starting from scratch. They have like some existing marketing engine. And so depending on what that looks like, we always start with their existing audience. And that might be really small. For me, I have like, when we launched my podcast, I have 600 people on my email list. Like, I do not have a big audience. I'm a community person, not an audience person.
Yet you had over 1,000 downloads in your first episode.
Yeah, I know. So here's what we did. So here was, so we will always look at what's their existing audience. Like we absolutely need to convert those people into the community. And if we can't, that's a really good test for this soft launch about like what the interest is going to be. Because if you can't sell it to the people who already love your work the most, then
going to be a solid validation tool right there.
Totally. So we always have like an existing audience plan in place and like kind of nurturing sequence for the month leading up to the community launch. So when my clients come to me and they get this package where we create the launch plan for them, we will provide them with like the timeline, the roadmap, and the messaging that they need to like really tease the community and start to really nurture these seeds of like, and messages of isolation, like being alone in your business or on this journey that they are facilitating, like kind of digging into some of the pain point and highlighting it so that when it comes time to like launch the pre-sale to secure your spot in the community, they've already been primed with some of that messaging. Now, the other thing that we did for the podcast that I think really contributed to the wild success was my community strategy. And so like for launching a community, it'd be like leveraging communities to launch your community.
Yes, like borrowed audiences.
Yeah. Drink every time I say community. Yeah. So I actually just released a guide on this because I think it's one of the most underrated like strategies in marketing. And I don't really consider myself a marketing person. I consider myself a community person, but I just noticed after the podcast how much of my community background and experience had been brought into the podcast. So what we did was 2 parts. One, we created what we called the Undercover Hype Squad for the community launch.
Yeah.
Or for the podcast launch. And they opted in. So they got like all of the messaging, teasing the podcast, but the call to action. What I hated about podcast launches is like when people are teasing it and I'm like, yes. So like I just want to hear it. And like, you're like, but I still have to wait like 4 weeks. So we were like, how do we, the people who are like, yes, absolutely, I can't wait for this. I was like, we have to like get their email on like a a specific list.
Was that a fax machine? Did we go back in time?
It sounded like it.
I'm
I'm in
keeping
a
all of
hotel
this.
room. I think my eyes were like, I didn't know that phone could ring. Okay, I hope that doesnn't do that again. Maybe I'm just going to unplug it here. I don't even. Okay, yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. So much. That is so funny.
Yeah.
That's okay. So what was I talking about? I said Undercover Hype Squad, I think.
Yes, that's where you left off.
Okay. So we started with the Undercover Hype Squad. We said the call to action up to the point that we launched the podcast was join the Hype Squad to help spread the word about the podcast. And honestly, I think what really helped in the podcast launch was I had a very clear vision of what I wanted this podcast to do and what I wanted it to be. And it was a little bit on the edge. Like, it's kind of spicy. It felt a little bit like precarious for me. Like, it wasn't like safe. It didn't feel like always really safe topics.
It's an original idea. I think it's freaking brilliant.
Oh, thank you. All those pieces came together at like the perfect timing. So our like message was like, when you help us like blow this podcast out of the water, you are making the community spaces a little less lonely and a lot less crazy. And I think getting that communal buy-in of like, hey, we are all community people, but we all struggle with these things. And like the more that we can spread this podcast, the less lonely we can make it for everyone. And that really resonated with people. So we had 80 people sign up for the podcast launch squad.
That's awesome.
I sent them all little like matchboxes if they lived in the US with like handwritten note. Like, it was like so much work, but I was like, these are my people who are like championing me and I really want them to feel on board. So I sent them a little snail mail. And then we like, when the launch came, we had very specific email sequences created to activate them at the right time and place, with like just making it anytime I want someone to do something. And this is from my community strategy. I ask, how can I prompt them? What are the supporting resources? What's the reward for them doing that? And so ask the same question with the podcast launch squad. How can I prompt them to do what I want them to do? How can I support them to make that like as easy as possible? And then what's the ultimate reward for them? And we did a couple like giveaways, but I think there's also like an intrinsic reward in helping someone that we also leaned on for our messaging.
Well, it worked. You nailed it. Your podcast is doing amazing. And it's called Dear Brie, right? Yes. Yep. Okay. So go listen to Dear Brie.
It's a lot of fun. It's an advice column for community fiascos, drama, and conundrums. So you'll hear like the worst of the worst scenarios in the community world. And I bring on experts even more brilliant than myself to tell you how to do it.
That's the best part of having a show, is I'm constantly talking to people who are smarter than me.
Yes, I know. It's really nice. Being a podcast host is kind of a sweet gig.
It is. It is. Okay, so we can mirror that podcast launch for community. That would easily work. So you said, I liked your how do I get people to do these things prompts. What other kind of rewards do you offer? So you had some giveaways. What other ones do you have?
Yeah, there's so many that we can choose from. I love, especially early on in the community launch, like the first thing that my clients always try to do to like self-sabotage is offer it for free. They're like, no, these are like our best people. We need to give it to them for free. And I'm like, if they're your best people, they should be the most willing to pay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Don't let me forget. I want to dig into that further. Like other things that people do to self-sabotage.
Oh God. The list goes on. I can tell you from experience exactly what they are.
I mean, we all do that. I have definitely self-sabotaged many times.
Oh, it's so tricky to catch yourself in those moments. But yeah, that's like, and it was another value of like working with Rosa and seeing like the value that I provide when I'm consulting on community. I'm just like, man, it is so hard it's something this good, bringing something this good into the world. You are just bound to self-sabotage. Like there's no way, shape, or form around it. And so to have like a guide who can like help keep you on track, help keep you from self-sabotaging is just, yeah, I was so grateful for it with Rose and her team for the podcast. That being said, let's go back to your question.
Yeah.
Which
so you said free is the first thing. Don't do it as the reward. What are some good rewards though?
Yes. Okay. Yep. So we don't do free, but I love to provide some sort of extra freebie that they can only get when they join the community and within a certain amount of time. So having some like time incentive and a reward for when they do join before that is up.
Strategic bonuses that are time constrained.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. And sometimes you can, like, this takes a little bit of finagling. You have to be really careful about providing something that feels unique and really valuable. A really nice time incentive for a lot of communities is like just the nature of the programming that exists in the community. So like our challenge is kicking off on this date. So you have to join before this date. And then the challenge, being able to be a part of the challenge is sort of positioned as a reward. Mm-hmm. So you don't always have to come up with something new. Sometimes it just takes a matter of looking at your ecosystem and looking at the programs that you do provide and how can we package this in a way that's a little bit more compelling for people to join within this certain amount of time. A couple other things that I love to do, maybe not for a new community, but like when you're in an existing community and you want to do a really big push to get new members, I'll often set up like, we would call them initiatives back in the first community that I built. So like a recruiting initiative is what we would call it. And we would always layer over like an individual benefit for the person referring, the new person joining, and a collective group goal. So we would make the group goal like really realistic. You have to be like really careful about this because you want to make sure you can hit the group goal. And framing it like tying that goal and the recruiting back to the purpose of the community. So especially if it's like a networking community and you're getting value from other members inside, saying like, hey, we have this big goal for spring of 2025. We want to see 50 new members join this community. When you bring someone on, we're going to give you an extra, like a free hour of consulting or access to this like exclusive, like maybe you run like a little micro accelerator or boot camp that people only get when they like refer a new member. And maybe the new member gets access. So you have an incentive for people individually, but then you say, and when we collectively hit this goal, because this is going to benefit everyone in the community. So when we hit this collective goal, anyone who referred someone, or you can say everyone in the community, gets like this extra expert session. Or, I mean, you can like pull in swag. Some people do swag for rewards. I love to keep it like really focused on like what's most valuable to your members. Mm-hmm. And usually that's like provided inside of the community. So those are just some ideas, but that was like one of my favorite. I love the structure of that initiative where you're rewarding all the right actions and people at the right time, but also still making it feel like a collective, unified vision.
I love that. I have been so quiet during this talk because I'm just absorbing everything that you're saying. There's so much strategy involved, so much more on the marketing end than I thought that there would be.
Oh my gosh, so much more. And like we used to craft for these big like initiatives, we would have like our communication plan for these things was like 16-page Google Docs, right? And not even for like anything that's too complicated, but just like like if we want someone to refer a new member, and if that's a big part of this new marketing push, maybe that's even just one branch of it. Like you're going to go out and do all these partner workshops in other communities to bring in new audience members, but you're also activating your members to refer people. Like if you want them to do that, again, you have to prompt them on like, what are they doing and what are you asking them to do? How are you supporting them? So for us, that looked like, I think done really poorly, all that is like just like templated copy of like, hey, send this to like 5 people. That's done poorly, but it's done.
It's something.
Yeah. When it's done really well, that means like, hey, think about your transformation that you have experienced in this community. Take a few minutes and reflect on this and think of someone who is in that position where you were when you first joined this community. Now, what has being a part of this community done for you? What's your story? What's been your journey? So prompting your members to think about it for themselves and what their actual experience is, and then creating the bridge for them to share about that publicly or with a couple people. That's your sweet spot. That's like so much better than like, come join the Ember community for coaches, consultants, and creators. Like
I just said exactly what I've seen on 33 different communities.
it's fine. It's just tired. Like we're
done.
all tired. Yeah, it's done. Not well, but it's done.
Yeah. That will be our new criteria for you did the bare minimum. It's done.
Exactly.
Well, is there anything else you want people to know before we wrap up?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is such a huge topic. If you're
It really is.
yeah, I could talk all day. Trust me. Love to talk. If you want more information, like I really, the matrix that we talked about in those 4 different types of communities, it's kind of like the basis for how I think about how communities support businesses, but also the challenges that you're signing up for in your community. So if this is like new to you, or maybe that framework is new to you and how you're thinking about community, I have a masterclass that goes through all of the different factors. So thinking about your existing marketing engine, that is going to lend itself to support different communities here. Like some communities more than others, depending on the type of marketing structure you have set up. Thinking about the impact that you want to see, thinking about your own capacity as a community builder and what you have the ability to execute on. So we dig into all of that in the masterclass, as well as like how to create a test for each of these communities. So I encourage you to check that out if you want to dig in more. But as far as final thoughts and final words, I think just community can be a really impactful and powerful tool for your business. It's not for everyone, so do your homework before and do a test to understand if this aligns with your business and what you want to create in the world. Obviously, I think the world needs more communities and more connection online, so I hope that it does, but it's not for everyone, and that's okay too.
Where can we find that masterclass? It sounds brilliant.
Yeah, I'll give you the link. It's on my website under the community page. So it's
okay. We'll put that in the show notes.
Perfect. Yeah, it sounds great.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. This was so amazing. I felt like I learned so much during this conversation. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, Sarah. Thank you for having me on. I'm so glad to share some space with you.
You love all things tiny marketing. Head down to the show notes page and sign up for the waitlist to join the Tiny Marketing Club, where you get to work one-on-one with me with trainings, feedback, and pop-up coaching that will help you scale your marketing as a B2B service business. So I'll see you over in the club.